Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.
This is the Nash Villager podcast. It's August 27th, 2026. And in many places, officials recognize this week as Labor Rights Week, or as South Carolina puts it, Safe and Sound Week. It's a time for emphasizing and publicizing regulations meant to ensure safe and fair working conditions. That includes workplace safety laws, wage protections, limits on work hours, and legally mandated benefits. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with context and backstory from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Unfortunately, there are a couple of news items right now about things going dangerously wrong at Tennessee workplaces. Down in Cleveland, Tennessee, the local Captain D's franchisee is in trouble with the U.S. Department of Labor for violating regulations that are supposed to protect young workers. Federal child labor laws limit what tasks can be given to teenagers. Basically, minors should not be doing dangerous things. The closer they get to 18, the more they are allowed to do. The restrictions are the strongest for 14 and 15-year-olds. Where restaurants are concerned, that means no cooking over an open flame or baking of any sort. They can't handle grinders or meat slicers. They aren't even supposed to be in commercial freezers for longer than it takes to pop in and retrieve something off a shelf. But at one of the Cleveland Captain D's locations, 14 and 15-year-olds were operating a commercial-grade batter mixer and manually lowering food into deep fryers. One of the teens was injured by the hot grease. There are also laws limiting the hours that teenagers are scheduled to work. That's actually a multi-tiered set of regulations. The federal government has broad restrictions. The state gets more granular. The feds say these restaurants were illegally scheduling teens to work prohibited hours. And because of those infractions, the franchisee has paid a $62,000 fine and entered into agreement meant to ensure future compliance with federal child labor laws. The other example of workplace safety gone wrong happened here in Middle Tennessee. It was at the Hankook Tire Factory in Clarksville, and honestly, it's pretty awful. The person who was injured did not work directly for Hankook. She was a cleaner, not a factory employee. One day last December, when she was cleaning a massive piece of machinery, it suddenly turned on. Her right hand was caught by a belt and trapped in the equipment. There was some kind of delay in turning the machine off. She ended up losing that arm. She's left with a permanent disability that affects her everyday life and limits her ability to earn a living. Hankook points out that the state's Occupational Safety and Health Administration determined the company wasn't responsible for the incident. But the worker clearly disagrees. Her complaint says contractors from the company that makes the machine had failed to follow protocols for securely shutting the equipment down. And she alleges that Hankook was negligent in making sure safety measures were carried out properly. In fact, her filing says she's not the first person to have an accident at that facility that resulted in amputation. The worker is asking for up to $30 million in damages. In just a few minutes, the power of protest music. That's coming up after the newscast.
Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.
I like to say Nash Villager in the morning, this is Nashville in the afternoon. I'm Blake Farmer, the new host, and yes, WPLN's midday show is also a podcast, and we understand lunchtime listening may not be your thing, but that doesn't mean you have to sit out. You can listen wherever you get your podcast, like right here, or ask your smart speaker to play the latest episode of This is Nashville.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Tennessee is going to get $750 million from Facebook and Instagram's parent company, Meta. That's because of a legal settlement. Tennessee was among the states that sued, arguing Instagram was knowingly damaging kids' mental health and misleading the public about how safe the platform is. The company agreed yesterday to pay out billions to states and to introduce several new safety features for young users. This includes limiting use at 2 hours, blocking access between midnight and 6 a.m., and disabling push notifications during school hours. Tennessee's Attorney General says the money's going into a new state account called the Children's Digital Protection Fund, but there wasn't much detail on plans to use it. The leaders of Nashville International Airport are looking to buy $8 million worth of land. That's in anticipation of approval to move forward with an extended runway that would open Nashville to more international destinations. The Tennessean reports the airport has been acquiring land progressively over the last decade. The new land deals come as airport CEO Doug Crulin says he expects the Federal Aviation Administration to give the airport the go-ahead to conduct an environmental assessment on September 1st. That process is expected to take 2 years, and actual construction of the extended runway would take an additional 6 years. At the end of that process, BNA would have a runway long enough for airlines to offer nonstop flights to countries in Asia. That's a key goal for state and local leaders who have courted continued investment from Japanese and South Korean companies. Following the news of Dolly Parton's death, mourners headed to some of the many spots around town where Dolly's presence was known. Because the legend lived and worked here, she touched so many lives in Nashville. People gathered to tell their stories of when I met Dolly. Music and culture reporter Justin Barney listened in at Dolly's studio on 12 South.
Tom Acapinti had a story about literally running into Dolly Parton. He used to be a songwriter at Tree Publishing back in the 80s when Dolly had just signed her catalog over to the company. And one day he's running out of the studio to go to his straight job, and he hit her with the door.
I was like, oh my God, I've killed Dolly Parton. She's laughing. I said, oh, I'm so sorry.
Then he proceeds to ask for her autograph, but he doesn't have a piece of paper or a pen. But Dolly is patient and waits, and eventually she signs the autograph, and he asked her to address it to his mom. And then, years later, Tom sees Dolly again, this time at a chiropractor. And he goes up to her, he reminds her of the interaction, and he thanks her for being kind. And then Dolly says,
now, was the autograph for you? I says, no, I had you do it for my mom. She goes, well, I hope that she enjoyed it. And I said, well, actually, my mom called me up and said, who the hell's Dorothy Parker? At that point, Dolly falls on the floor in this office, and she's laughing.
Afterwards, Dolly came back up to Acapinti, and she thanked him for giving her such a big laugh. And she said that it made her day.
And it was like we were friends.
Yeah.
She had this innate ability just to make you feel like you were the most important person she was talking to at that point, and you mattered.
For Nashville Public Radio, I'm Justin Barney.
In East Tennessee, visitors traveled to Parton's theme park the day after her death. WUOT's Jackie Sieber was at Dollywood yesterday morning to talk to guests about the country icon's life and legacy.
Fans from all over the world took photos of Dolly's childhood home, rode rides, and grabbed freshly made cinnamon bread, a staple at the park. That's where I met Leah Steer, who traveled to Tennessee from Israel. It's been her dream for years to come to Dollywood. When she heard the news about Parton's passing, she felt it was right to celebrate her life at the theme park, a place that has served as a childhood memory for many.
And when we come here, we actually see like all the investment that she put into like this park, and I know that her goal was to like make people happy.
Others, like Rhonda Brooks, are frequent visitors. She says she will remember Dolly through her charitable spirit, including her initiative in offering free books to children under 5.
She provided all 3 of my grandchildren, my younger grandchildren, with books through Imagination Library. So that's a beautiful legacy that will be carried on.
To pay their respects, visitors shared a moment of silence at the park to reflect on Dolly's life. A version of her famous song 9 to 5 played in the background. I'm Jackie Sieber, WUOT News.
Officials with Dollywood Parks and Resorts say the park was open to reflect Dolly's attitude of the show must go on. Well, since Parton's death, personal stories of life-changing moments have poured in from across the globe. Artists across multiple generations have shared pictures and stories that show her collaborative spirit and generosity. Country artists like Ashley Monroe and bluegrass artist Dale Ann Bradley were taken seriously early on by Dolly and received her support. Nashville Public Radio senior music writer Julie Height believes that Dolly's legacy is like a prism that can be viewed and appreciated from many sides, revealing different qualities. And because she contained these multitudes, her impact cannot be limited to one type of artist.
You can look at who has that Appalachian lilt and that vocal control, that form of vocal expression in the Dolly lineage. And then you think about the world that she built in her songwriting, style, fashion. She contains such multitudes. It cannot be contained in just one person, but we can find bits of it in many.
The Grand Ole Opry will honor the life and legacy of Dolly Parton with a tribute show on Saturday. Her family has said that they will gather for a small private funeral service, but they're inviting fans to honor her legacy by donating to her literacy nonprofit, the Imagination Library, in lieu of flowers. And fans can also share what Parton means to them by leaving a remembrance at dollyparton.com. The principal of Nashville's Warner Elementary has been arrested on charges of assaulting her 13-year-old son. Janelle Brooks has been placed on administrative leave while the incident is investigated. The Nashville Banner reports Brooks' ex-husband called police with a complaint that she was going too far when disciplining their son. Police officers say she admitted to making the boy sleep directly on a hard floor, striking him with a paddle, grabbing him by the neck, and ordering the boy to leave the house wearing nothing but underwear. Brooks is scheduled to appear in Sumner County Court early next month. State lawmakers moved to take over the school district in Memphis earlier this year after a damning audit. Now they're wanting an investigation into Nashville's schools. House Speaker Cameron Sexton confirmed to WKRN that there are discussions about asking the comptroller's office to conduct an extensive audit into Metro Nashville public schools. That office told WKRN no one has called yet. The comptroller released its audit report for Memphis back in March. It found more than $1 million in spending from 2022 to 2024 appeared to fall in the waste, fraud, and abuse category. Another $1.7 million in spending seemed to happen without following process rules. District administrators said all the problems happened under leaders who have since left. They also noted that figure is about 2% of the school's budget. Lawmakers approved $7 million to bring in investigators for the audit. Then they passed a state takeover bill that basically created a state-appointed board over Memphis's local school board. Nashville has become a hub for influencers, and this weekend more than 100 content creators are flocking to Music City to share nuggets on how to build your online brand. WPLN's Camelia Burris has more.
Blogger Exchange is an organization that connects influencers with local businesses. And they're hosting an event this weekend where popular creators, meaning those with about 100,000 followers, offer tips to help smaller creators grow their platforms. The group's founder, Lee Levitt, is a Nashville native, and she's not surprised that so many influencers want to work in her hometown.
First of all, there's always something new happening here. So from a restaurant perspective, from just having new content, basically the creators always have something to post within Nashville.
Tennessee not having an income tax also adds to its appeal. Levitt says that the event will teach creators how to monetize their social media accounts, but it's also meant to highlight local businesses, especially those that are owned by people of color or women. Additionally, a portion of the event proceeds will go to Nashville Rescue Mission and Shower Up Nashville. The event is open to anyone who wants to be a content creator, and you can register until this Friday. Camelia Burris, WPLN News.
You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Taking listener phone calls is a regular part of our midday show, This is Nashville. Sometimes those community voices provide as much insight as the in-studio guests. In a live interview this week, Margo Price talked about her new album and the role of protest music in Music City. She and host Blake Farmer heard from a few diehard fans, a couple of first-time listeners, and one Hall of Fame songwriter, Rodney Crowell. He explained that he first met Margo Price at a political fundraiser.
I will never forget that. I was in a songwriting swap with you and Emmy Lou, and just me, and I was having a panic attack. I was like, how am I going to hold my own among these heroes of mine? I mean, I've been covering Rodney's songs for so long, and reading his incredible memoir, Chinaberry Sidewalks. I mean, you're just one of the greatest to ever do it. So thank you for taking the time to write with me. And
Ronnie, while I've got you for a second, I had missed this song that you've put out this year called "Light a Candle."
Oh yeah, that was the first time I went. The first thing I did with that song when the inauguration happened, enough of my friends were in a bad way. I was speaking to a buddy of mine, and I said, well, you know, Springsteen has hit one pretty hard. And I said, I want to find a more gentle way. And he said, oh man, go light a candle. And I said, that's it. So I wrote this song, Go Light a Candle.
There's faith in the false prophet's scorn that was there long before you were born. There's faith that it's all in your head, and there's faith you can raise from the dead. Now go light a candle.
Originally, I released it anonymously like a musical chain letter. Margo, you might have helped me get it out there in the world.
Absolutely, I did. I love that song
Wait,
so
so
much.
that's the explanation of I saw that it was released anonymously, and that's what you're saying. You like released it, just had other artists start playing it?
And then I circled back, and I have an album out, just came out now. That's something I recorded 20 years ago, and I added it to the running order. But I wrote a song called Don't Get Me Started back, you know, Operation Shock and Awe, when we're invading Iraq. And when all that was happening, I was in Ireland, and this woman in a pub walked over to me and punched me square in the chest. And she said, "You're American." And and like it caved in my chest. Punched me in the heart. And I said, "You don't really understand me. You can't lump me into everything American." So I came back and wrote "Don't Get Me Started," which was based on her wanting to fight me in a bar because of a difference in political stance on invading another country. So I've never shied away from speaking my mind about that. It's something, Margo, I admire this. You know, Margo comes from that mindset. She's not afraid. Can't be afraid.
Right. I know. I think so many people are controlled by fear, and it doesn't mean I'm not scared when I'm not doing it sometimes, for sure. I've had threats and people write all sorts of terrible things, but I'm not going to be bullied into being silenced.
Yeah, well, I want everybody on both sides of any aisle I look down to love me, of course. That's
Yes.
what we get on stages, you know. But sometimes to speak the truth, you have to sacrifice the longing for everybody to care for you.
Goodbye, Marwa, farewell, Rosalita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be deportee.
That's a song from Days of Unrest. Margo Price's new album is mostly cover songs, and many of them are decades old. Deportee was written by Woody Guthrie nearly 80 years ago after a plane crash in California killed Mexican migrant farm workers who were being deported. Thanks for listening to the Nashvillager podcast. We take this look at Nashville news every weekday. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. And tell a friend or give us a mention on your socials. It really helps get the word out. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can become a member at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. And we'll catch back up tomorrow.
Funding for the Nashvillager podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.